Hi everyone, so I've had this little Halloween decoration hanging around for ages, and it's one I got from the local craft store, and it's like unfinished wood so you can paint it and stuff, and I like the shape of it, but I wasn't happy with the style, so I decided to try and improve it if I could. So the first thing I did was cut out strips of card to stick on top because I wanted to make it look like it was made out of planks of wood as opposed to a solid flat piece. So all I did was cut the wood to the right length and then just cut along the edges slightly wiggly because I don't want it to look like, perfectly straight sections of wood. I wanted it to look old and warped and battered. And once I cut out enough strips to cover the top of the coffin, then I glued them into place. And all I'm doing here is just cutting the last couple of strips and debating how big a gap I wanted between them and how I wanted to lay them down. In the end, I just did small gaps between them and did 5 strips of paper in the end. Each strip of paper is about a centimetre wide and the length of the coffin, like so. And obviously I was going to cut, I'll cut round them once they've been glued into place and set. So once my hot glue gun had heated up, I then stuck the strips of card in place and just put glue along the whole strip and just made sure it stuck down really well. And then once I've covered the whole thing, I just cut around and cut off the excess cardboard. It just means it's easier than trying to cut the strips to be exact. I could just stick them on and then cut off the excess. And I've already took off, by the way, there's like a little clasp mechanism to hold the coffin shut. I've already took that off. And then it's a case of going around all the sides and applying the strips of card as well. And then once those strips are all in place and the glue has set, then coat the whole thing in a layer of tissue paper and PVA glue. And then once it's dry, paint all of that in one layer of black acrylic paint. And then once the black acrylic paint is dry, you can speed up the drying process, by the way, by using a hairdryer or a heat gun. And then dry brush over the top some grey, which is what I did first of all. And I also add a bit of white over the top as well. And as you can see, the grey makes some of the details stand out and then the white really makes it stand out. Now I realise at the minute it looks grey, but I do a wash over the top as well afterwards, which you'll see me do in a bit. But first of all, I did the whitewash and the grey dry brush over the top. White dry brush. Literally I've got like the tiniest bit of white on my brush, and I'm just very lightly going over the surface just to pick up all those little textures and things that have appeared through putting the layer of PVA glue and tissue paper on top. And anywhere where I felt I wanted the details to stand out a bit more, I just put a bit more white on my brush and went over it again. Then taking a fine liner brush, I then got some black paint and just went back in those cracks and crevices because some of them had got the white and the grey inside, so they didn't show up as much anymore. And I wanted that sort of the look of the planks to show through. Obviously not every single one, but just where the natural gaps were here and there in the layer of PVA glue and tissue, and the natural gaps that were between the pieces of cardboard, I wanted to go over with black just to make them look deeper, like so. Then I took some burnt umber, which is a brown colour, in acrylic paint, and got a little bit of that on my brush, fairly dry, not as dry as when I did the white, but fairly dry. Basically my brush was damp, but the paint was a very small amount. And then dry brushed the brown over the top. I wanted this to be more of a wood look. Originally I was going for more of like a sort of stone look, and then decided no, I wanted it to look a bit more like wood, so I applied the brown over the top. And you'll see in a bit that once I did that and went over, I did actually add a bit more brown to some of the areas on the lid because I felt the brown wasn't showing up enough. And obviously you've got to bear in mind that acrylic paint dries slightly darker, so I wanted to make sure that the brown would stand out but not be like too in your face, if you know what I mean. So obviously I wanted to add patches here and there where you could see a bit more of the natural brown colour of the wood, but I didn't want it to be like a solid layer of it. And I did that over the front and back, and obviously all over the sides as well. And then you'll see in a bit I used my heat gun to dry that off. And then all I did after that was took a little bit more of that white on my brush and I dry brushed that over the top. And that just, it gave this sort of browny colour I was after. And then obviously that little bit of white over the top just added to bring, like, you know, brought out those textures just that little bit more. And then once I did that, I then used some of my hot glue here and there to apply a little bit of glue, and then stuck on some more of that fake moss stuff that I've got. And then after that, what I decided to do was I added a little plaque on the front. And to do that, what I did was I cut out a little square of card, put like a border around it in hot glue, and then when it was dry I painted it black, and then used a bit of my gilding wax in silver to go over it to make it look metallic, and then stuck some more of the fake moss and a bit of paint over the top of that, and that was it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Oh, by the way, the lighting rig that was in it that I took out at the bottom, I still use inside it, but I just place it inside instead of it actually sticking out from the bottom, because I wanted the coffin to lie flat on the table. Yeah, so that was it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.